Hi guys, this is Rob from Access. Today I am joined by Paul from Codemasters Racing. Nice to meet you, Paul, and we're talking F1 2013. And I guess the first question, the obvious one to get out of the way, is what's new for F1 2013? You've got Classics mode, which a lot of people are getting excited about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a few years in the making in terms of bringing it all together. We certainly started the licensing process pretty much after F1 2011 in terms of we knew we wanted to do it, what could we get licensed. But yeah, it's obviously a feature we're massively proud of. We've got 10 world champions on the grid in the various F1 Classic modes. There are Grand Prix, there's scenarios, there's time trial, time attacks. We really think it's a kind of a feature to be proud of as opposed to just putting in a few classic cars that which people could race in a sort of time trial or multiplayer experience only.
And what are some of the big names, the big exciting names, big exciting tracks you've got in Classics mode then?
Well, for me, Nigel Mansell, Michael Schumacher, they're my two heroes in terms of drivers. But Damon Hill, Jacques Villeneuve, Emerson Fittipaldi, Michael Andretti, Lazy Berger. I mean, there's loads of great drivers there. And I think there's a favourite there for everyone. In terms of tracks, it was really tricky trying to pick the tracks that we thought would be really popular. And we had quite a big short list. But the ones that stood out for me really, Imola was obviously huge on the list, and Jerez has been a test track in Formula 1 for a while, so we were keen to get that in, back into the game. We've also got Estoril and we've got Brands Hatch. I think Sebastian Vettel recently said that was his kind of favourite track, so that was really good to hear. And
It makes Sebastian happy.
Exactly, yeah, no pressure.
And also, you were showing us in the demo there how your AI has kind of got a bit more aggressive this year as well, and how you're kind of replicating the real life performance of people. Like you had the two Mercedes drivers, Rosberg and Hamilton, were on pole quite a lot. Mark Webber had his notorious bad start. Quite a lot of people on our community are asking the question of why you don't always release the game at the beginning of the season, and could you explain how the AI and the authentic performance of these guys has some factor in that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, certainly why we don't release it early in the season's a sort of licensing and sign-off perspective. So you model the cars as they appear on the grid in Melbourne. That's mid-March. So then you kind of, by the time you make the cars and get them into the teams, you're looking at sort of late April into May. Then just trying to get all the track sponsors signed off for 19 or 20 tracks is just a long process. Added to that, I mean, even if you took that aside and you could physically get the game out earlier, you just wouldn't have those characteristics right. You wouldn't have known that Mercedes had taken that step forward. You wouldn't have known that McLaren and perhaps Williams were struggling a little bit more. So there's some benefits from a gameplay point of view. The way that the DRS zones are allocated on races, and the tyre drop-off, for example, has been quite big this year. We've been able to sort of simulate those things. We've made the AI a little bit more aggressive this year, and that's had kind of a mass benefit across all areas of the game, really. So you get 4 cars abreast into turn 1. You're getting more contact now, which triggers the safety car a little bit more. And it just enables the driver traits which have always been in there just to kind of come through a little bit more. So someone like a Gutierrez or a Bottas, a rookie driver is going to be perhaps not as much of a threat from behind as and a little bit easier to overtake as opposed to a Hamilton or an Alonso or a Vettel, for example. So I think players who kind of have played our games previously but also know Formula 1 are really going to see these driver strengths and these traits coming into the game much more this year.
Another question our community were asking us quite a lot this morning was, are we going to see F1 back on PlayStation Vita again anytime soon?
Not at the moment, unfortunately. I mean, we've got to cherry pick which games F1 comes out on in terms of getting the assets signed off for all the teams. I think we've kind of hit them hard over the past few years in terms of all the different games and platforms. And obviously, from a Codemasters perspective, we've definitely got one eye firmly on next gen now, and the amount of undertaking that's going to take in terms of really maximising the performance that those consoles offer.
Talking about PS4, then I guess that's the next huge challenge for you guys. It's going to involve building the game pretty much from the ground up again. What are you excited about going into next gen? What are your ambitions for F1 on PS4?
Yeah, well, hugely excited. When you're working on a franchise and we're on our 4th year now, so the sort of the level of scope to improve and to really push the boundaries of the current systems are getting much closer to the end now. Obviously, that's been torn up, and we've got a brand new playbook, if you like, with PlayStation 4. So really it's about taking a step backwards at this point and just which systems do we want to bring across. You could easily make the decision to port across the current generation onto next gen, but I don't think that's going to be the way forward. So I think certainly from our feature perspective, I would imagine that perhaps we're going to we're going to rewrite a lot more things. It's going to be more technological based. I mean, certainly you would expect a fairly significant graphical uplift, and certainly from our point of view, we want to spend more of that extra power on the simulation of the AI, of the physics.
You're aiming for 60 frames per second and 1080p on PS4?
Yeah, I mean, I think 60 frames a second is key. Not only will that make the handling vastly superior, but I think that's the sort of minimum requirement really in terms of getting that, and the graphical uplift as well. Yeah.
What do we expect from a graphical uplift? Because I look at the cars now on the PS3 version, and think, how can you make them any shinier? They look really shiny. And in the demo you mentioned you saw a prototype of Monaco and how that looks astonishing.
Yeah.
Can you give us, a little description of what we can expect from this PS4 graphical, upheaval?
The difference onto next gen is going to be even bigger again, and it really, all of the various groups now are questioning the way that they would perhaps model stuff. Maybe cars are going to be built in a completely different way onto next gen, and certainly the environment guys are looking as to how they can model tracks and various textures on flags and different sort of types of surfaces, I guess. But certainly, again, the aim is realism. We've done some early prototype stuff on Monaco just to see kind of budgets and get those sort of things kicking off in terms of how the uplift of the tracks is going to go across onto next gen. And the results were pretty stunning, to be honest. I mean, obviously they're goals for us to aim for, but certainly you weren't noticing much difference between is that a real life shot or is that in game.
Fantastic. So that is Formula 1 2013. If you want to see more videos, make sure you check out the rest of our channel. We've got loads of videos on PS4, all the info you could want going into Tokyo Game Show next week. That is youtube.com/PlayStation Access.